Today, we are going to discuss God causes people to be sick for his glory. Let's discuss this. I want to kill this teaching. So we will talk more about this. And let's put this to rest once and for all. God is not the author of sickness, nor does he allow sickness. Let's talk about it. Thank you for landing on my channel. For the best teachings on divine healing, click the subscription button. Subscribe to my channel, click the bell so you'll be notified when I post new content every single week, every single Wednesday. Does God cause sickness for his glory? Let's bury that misteaching. Hey, I'm Tony Myers. I'm the author of 4 books on divine healing. I was healed of Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. I've been featured on the 700 Club, and I have led thousands to be able to acknowledge their healing. And with just a few changes in your perception, you can be next. So, where people get this from are some of the statements Jesus made that the Son of God might be glorified. That through the Son of God, God would be glorified. And there's 2 specific scriptures that this comes from. The man born blind and Lazarus. So, let's take a look at this, because this is a pet peeve of mine. And it's all because people do not understand the messianic miracles. And that is why that there is this confusion. So we're going to go John 9:3. Let's go John 11:4. Let's talk about Lazarus first. Now, this was when it was informed that Lazarus was sick. And then in 11:4, when Jesus heard that, he said, "This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby." So people say that and say, well, there's sometimes that the Father will purposely let someone die for his glory. And also that God will make somebody sick so that he's glorified. Okay, so if that's the case, then they were either raised from the dead or healed. That does not happen now. These are one-time events, and God did not cause Lazarus to die. God did not cause the man born blind to be born blind. So let's look at this. This sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. How was the Son of God glorified? Jesus was glorified because the messianic miracles were 4 miracles that only the Messiah could perform at the time until he performed them. Then afterwards, we can all speak to any sickness and see it healed. This was for that specific time to prove beyond a shadow of doubt that Jesus is the Son of God. So Lazarus got sick, not of God's doing. Jesus did delay for this purpose. Raised from the dead after 72 hours was one of the things the Messiah would do to prove that he was the Son of God. Now, after that happens, now we can all see the dead resurrected, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers. Freely ye have received, freely give. So, and that is what's going on here. That is why they wanted Lazarus dead. As this goes, as you read about this in this scripture, they wanted Lazarus dead because the Pharisees, because this proved that Jesus was the Son of God. All right, the blind man. Let's go to John 9:3. Jesus answered, neither hath this man sinned nor his parents, but that the works of God should be made manifest in him. This is another messianic miracle. Birth defects. A man born blind. Jesus has him go to the pool of Siloam and wash, and he's healed. That is one of the things. And if you look down to John 9:32, since the world began, was it not heard that any man opened the eyes of one that was born blind? If this man were not of God, he could do nothing. This was the first time in all the world, since the world began, that a man born blind was healed. This is what proved that Jesus is the Messiah. The Pharisees, by that action, knew exactly who Jesus was. And this goes right to John 17:1. See, those were one-time events. This does not prove that God allows sickness. He doesn't. He sent us Jesus. These were the messianic miracles set aside specifically to prove that Jesus is the Christ. In 17:1, Father, the hour is come, glorify thy Son, that thy Son also may glorify thee. The same reason that Jesus was crucified, not by God's choice, by man's choice. The Pharisees, that the Father be glorified and the Son be glorified in him. He's raised back to life so that now we are sons of God. That is what is going on, and that is the same thing as a one-time event. Jesus was resurrected to life one time for all. Just as the man born blind was healed, this is a one-time event that now can happen all the time. But that specific time, and the reason Jesus said it was for that specific reason. Then afterwards, that's when he anointed the 12, then the 70, to heal the sick. Now there were no boundaries. Now they could heal anyone. someone born blind, a deaf mute spirit. So you had birth defects. The deaf mute spirit raised from dead after 72 hours, and then leprosy. That was the other one. Never before was a Jew healed from leprosy. That was the other one. That was the whole reason why Jesus sent them to the temple. That was specifically set. See, until the lepers were healed, what was in place was the priests were to inspect. That had never been used before until Jesus, once again, to prove he was the Son of God, that he is the Messiah. So let's understand what's going on before we make a theology out of it. I pray this finds an open heart, and now you can understand why Jesus did what he did. And it wasn't to show that God was sending sickness to anyone. Be blessed, be healed, and be a blessing. Down below, you will find my private Facebook group. It's free. Answer 3 simple questions, and you're in like Flynn. On there, I've got exclusive teachings, and right now, I'm teaching on knocking food off its pedestal. You have those exclusive teachings right in the Facebook group, tons of it, and you will have access to it. We will see you next week.